Have you ever witnessed strange lights in the sky or experienced missing time? If so, you're not alone. These high strangeness incidents happen to people every day, all over the world, and we want to get to the bottom of them. Since 1969, MUFON has been at the forefront of UFO investigations, and we're not stopping now. Join Alex and Ruben, a team of highly skilled MUFON field investigators with years of experience committed to getting to the truth. We'll investigate UFO events through guest interviews and witness accounts, analyzing data from various sources. Let's work together to unravel the mysteries of the unknown and get answers to the questions that have been unanswered for so long.
Hello and welcome to another episode of MUFON Up Close. My name is Alex Tusia and I'm joined with my co-host Ruben Uriarte.
Hey Alex, great to see you. Great to be back here in the program.
Always great. Ruben, I really enjoyed listening to you on Coast to Coast recently. I thought you did just a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot. It was great to reconnect. I haven't spoken on his program for close to 9-10 years, and it was great to share some updated information that I had in regards to the activity, since I'm also the state director I'm the assistant state director for Northern California, but also I serve as the national director for Mexico and Cuba, and a lot of activity has been going on over this past period. So it was great to be back on this show, and I appreciate so much that you and so many of my friends and people were able to tune in that interview. It was from 12 midnight till 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God.
Prime time, right?
Yeah, the prime time.
For George anyway.
Yeah. I don't know how they do it. I mean, we do our show, but at least, we have it like twice a month or a little bit more sometimes, but they go every night, and that's amazing. A lot of work, a lot of coordination. So I really appreciate the work that Chanel does, behind the scenes, all the technical support to run a show.
It's great. It's fun to see it all come together, right?
Yes. And also, this seems like so many interesting events have been happening. The weird kind of response that the drone mystery, supposedly the FAA was behind it. Maybe some, who knows, but that still the mystery continues. And then we now have a new task force that's going to be run by Representative Luna. That's going to deal with government secrets. So I don't know. That's a lot of work. That's going to be they'll be dealing with, dealing with JFK and 9/11, and then the whole question of UAP, USOs, and that.
Yeah, a lot of good information could come out of that.
Yes.
We have a very exciting guest with us today, Stacey Wright. She is the state director for Arizona MUFON and also the director of Phoenix MUFON. Stacey is a certified field investigator and STAR team member for MUFON for over the past 18 years, has helped to build the Phoenix MUFON chapter from the ground up to become MUFON International's first chapter of the year. Stacey has worked as team leader on Roswell Archaeological Digs with Don Schmidt, helped design and produce the Phoenix Lights exhibit for the Arizona Historical Society Museum, and was team leader for the revision of MUFON's State Director Handbook. Stacey is the organizer of MUFON's annual Field Investigator Boot Camp, which has been held in Mesa, Arizona for the past 7 years. The boot camp is a weekend of concentrated instruction on the protocols of completing a quality investigation of a UFO-related event. Stacey also acts as coordinator of the field investigator training held at the MUFON Symposium each year. Stacey has a true passion for investigating and appreciating numerous mysteries, whether they be archaeological, interdimensional, or celestial. Stacey has enjoyed working 29 years for the public school system, raising 2 amazing children, 4 amazing grandchildren, and in her spare time enjoys kayaking, star watching, archery, camping, hiking in the tall pines and high country of Arizona. So join us in welcoming Stacey.
Thank you very much for having me.
Very impressive. A lot that you're working on.
You've done a lot, Stacey. You're amazing.
Yeah, it's all been fun, so that's what keeps it all going.
As we kind of come into the program today, we'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of some of the UAP things that are happening nowadays. It feels like there are just things popping up every week or so.
Yeah, it's been kind of a busy time, I think, since 2017 when we first had the reports on the Tic Tac. Everything since then has just been like a flurry of information. It's almost too much to keep track of, especially if you want to do your own research on stuff and keep digging on little pieces of everything. It really, can take up a lot of your time. So yeah, it's been an exciting time to be living in.
How did you get involved with MUFON or the phenomena?
I'm sorry, can you ask that again?
How did you first get acquainted with MUFON and start becoming an investigator and doing this?
Well, I didn't start out really interested in UFOs per se or aliens. I was more interested in the astronomy side of things, and had gone to college to take a lot of astronomy courses. And then, was just always looking up to the stars when I was a kid, and always thought there's got to be life out there. I never really started studying UFOs or aliens, but I thought, of course, there's life out there. Look at the expanse of this. So one day, I just kept thinking, there's got to be some UFO kind of a group here in this world-class city of Phoenix. And I had just finished reading my first book on the subject. I think it was Alien Agenda by Jim Mars.
Yeah.
And once I finished that, it just kind of hooked me, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of really cool stuff going on here. Let's see if I can find a UFO meeting, And so I just started Googling things and came up with this funny sounding thing called MUFON. I'm like, what is this? It looked like there had not been anything in the Phoenix area for the last, 7 or 8 years. So I wrote to the only contact that I found on the Google, not knowing that it was at the time the executive director of MUFON. And I said, hey, how come there's no meetings here in this, big city? And it was James Carrion at the time that wrote back to me. And he said, well, we don't know. Let's look into this and I'll get back to you with something. And so he did. He said, okay, we're going to have a meeting, a startup meeting again in a couple of weeks. And here's the address and the time. So went to that. And, I was just expecting to see, all kinds of weirdos there and, some tinfoil hats and, just some really cool, interesting stuff. But there was nothing like that. There was really only about 4 other people besides myself. And I thought, wow, they all are normal people. This is fun, and it was the assistant state director at the time that was trying to get something started up again in the Phoenix area. And she was looking for volunteers. So, raised my hand, and I thought, I could become a field investigator and I could do this. I could probably do 4 people. I'd never organized anything like that before, or had I gotten up and spoken in front of a crowd before, never. But I thought I could probably do this. So that was it. I raised my hand and volunteered for that and became a field investigator and started up Phoenix MUFON. And that was back in 2007. And we had a great start to this, and that our very first guest speaker was Stanton Friedman.
Wow.
I mean, we were just lucky enough that he had been in the state of Arizona, and the assistant state director at the time had contacted him. She knew him, and she said, hey, could you step in and speak at this meeting? He's like, yeah, of course I will. He charged us nothing. He did this free of charge. He was the most gracious gentleman. It was just so fun, but, completely starstruck because I'd heard of Stanton Friedman, and oh my God, I'm with this powerful man, but he was just the nicest person, and we became really good friends after that. And that's how Phoenix MUFON started. That was back in 2007, and it's just been going strong and, getting bigger, and we keep outgrowing our venues. So I think we're on maybe our 6th venue right now, and we're probably going to stay there because it's pretty perfect and pretty big. It's the Arizona Historical Society Museum. And it's a great state-run, building. And they actually came to us and asked if we wanted to have our meetings at their beautiful auditorium that they have there. And we're like, where are you located? We have never seen your building, and not many people know that they're tucked away in the side of a mountain up there on the border of Tempe and Scottsdale. And we're like, yeah, we'd love to have our meetings here. This is a really cool place. So we've been there for, I don't know, maybe 10 years now, and it's just beautiful, and it's very legitimate, and it's just really cool that they like us so much. And a lot of people that would be in a state-run organization like that might be shying away from something like that. The connotation of all these UFO nuts coming in each month. But it's gone really well, and we're really happy there. And they treat us, like royalty, and it's just been a really great place to bring the people in and try to educate them. So.
I remember, Stacey, that's a beautiful facility that you folks have, and you had me there as a speaker. And
yeah, I think you spoke for us maybe 2016 or something like that.
Around there, I think. Yeah, I was able to get out there, and I always said, if you get invited by Phoenix, that's like the first class location, first class chapter, and everything that you folks do was just always so professional. And I've always been impressed with the Phoenix chapter. And I was just curious, did you come to back in 2008, Northern California had the symposium, and I was wondering did you come to that? Do you recall?
I have not. I hadn't been to a few symposiums right off the bat there when we started out way long time ago. But I think the only ones I've been to in California were in Southern California, down in Irvine, that area there. So I've never been up to Northern California when they had a symposium there.
You've been involved in a number of other conferences, and the one that was Alejandro Rojas and Karen.
Yeah,
are they still doing
put on the UFO Congress. Yeah.
Yes. Is that still going on? Do you know?
No, it's not right now. Times have gotten so expensive now. It's just ungodly expensive here in Phoenix for events, because we have this 6 or 7 months of the year that's absolutely perfect, beautiful weather, and everyone flocks here. So the prices skyrocket. And the prices of rooms are really expensive. They were having the UFO Congress out at Fort McDowell Casino, which is run by one of the tribes here. And it was a beautiful, location. Everyone loved it out there. It was always in February. So it was cool, but beautiful. And everyone just loved that because it had just that tribal flair out there that was just so, authentic. But the tribe, raised the prices on the rooms, and then they didn't want us there at all. And so they had to try to find different locations for the UFO Congress. And, anywhere else was just so expensive. And it kind of has just, it hasn't been happening the last, I think, maybe 3 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah, we're hoping that they revive that, because it was always something that was just very unique to, this area, to Phoenix. But I'm not sure what they're going to do.
Do you think you might someday host a symposium, a MUFON symposium?
I don't know, because again, it's so expensive in the winter, and to try to get people to come here in the summer, I just wouldn't put people through that. It's very hot here. It really is in the summer. It's ungodly hot. And in the wintertime, it's not just coming to, a great conference or a symposium, but it's a vacation destination to come here in the wintertime. That's easy, but so expensive. So I kind of doubt that the symposium will ever end up in Phoenix. It would just, cost way too much.
It's probably like here in Northern California, Bay Area is also so expensive.
But things are.
Cincinnati, though, is a great location. I think it's hosted there this year, and I think the next year as well.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've never been there. I haven't been there the last, couple times when they had it in Cincinnati. And I work for the school system. It's really hard for me to get off work during that time that they have the symposium. So I miss it a lot of the times when they have it in July. And I'll miss it this summer too, by about 2 days. But I just can't make it this summer. But next summer, I'll be retired. I'm going to hit that symposium in Cincinnati next summer for sure. Yeah.
What kind of work do you do with the school administration there?
I'm a health assistant in the nurse's office at a really large high school.
Wow.
3,400 students.
That's
Wow.
huge.
Yeah.
Huge high school.
Yeah, it's a planet. I mean, this school where I work, it's just a planet. There's so many kids there, and there's everything in a day that could possibly happen. So it's interesting.
I used to work for the school administration here in the small city of Union City, Jason. I live in Hayward, and yeah, I work on and off with the school district in different capacities, and it was we only have one high school, but it's close to 4,000 students.
Yeah.
It's like a college. I can
Yeah,
imagine.
it is.
Same like your school.
Yeah.
That's great, though.
Yeah. It's never a dull moment, that's for sure.
How many people do you have in your chapter?
Official members, I think we're at about 160 official members that are on the MUFON roster as being members. But at our meetings, they're open to the public, so we get anywhere from 100 to full house. That auditorium holds 275, so we filled it up a few times. So we get a lot of people in there, and we don't require them to be a MUFON member to attend, because we want to bring everyone in, give them a taste of what we're doing in there, and let them start on their own research.
What a great turnout.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a great facility, and the people. How I have a couple questions I want to ask you. You have other chapters, Sedona and in Tucson, and
Right.
how are those chapters doing? And
They're doing good. You know, Arizona is, people are very interested in the subject here in Arizona. So our chapter down in Tucson is run by Karen Hill. And of course, down in Tucson, you have the University of Arizona with all of their, physics department and their astronomy department. So there's a lot of space stuff going on down there in Tucson. And so that chapter is going really well. And then in Sedona, it is run by Jennifer Stein. And she is a master at what she does for running groups, because she also runs mainline MUFON out of Pennsylvania. So she does a great job up there in Sedona. And so we've got the 3 chapters that are all, very successful.
I met Jennifer year 2000, and I used to be a part of a group, a tour group called Beyond Boundaries, and we were going to do a crop circle expedition. We had the number of signups, and then for some reason people started to cancel out, except for Jennifer. And then the director of the tour agency says, "Well, we got one person. You can be the guide and be the tour guide." And I thought, why not? I mean, in fact, that may work out, and as far as we're more flexible in being able to travel more, and that turned out to be a great crop circle expedition for us. And meeting Jennifer, and then and her interest in the crop circles and that, and then I had suggested, I said, "You got to join MUFON. You'd be great at it." I didn't know if that was part of the seed, but I was real happy to hear that she did join, and then was getting involved, and now she's running.
Yeah, she's a powerhouse, and she's really, she actually has a really great lecture on crop circles too. So maybe you had a part in starting that out, Ruben.
Yeah, we met a number of the researchers. That's the thing about traveling, is you go out there at, lack of a better word, you go out on the field there, and get a chance to meet the people, the researchers, and to be out there. Oh, I forgot, there were some crazy things. I lost my glasses in one of the crop circles, and sure enough, someone found it and reported it to the local police department in one of those little towns. And then I was at a conference, and I couldn't see that well, and then someone mentioned that. Oh, then I mentioned I lost my glasses, and then they said, "Oh, go and talk to the police department." Sure enough, I went, and they found them. Can you imagine? In the huge fields, and then here's that was a miracle.
Was your eyesight miraculously restored to perfect again?
Almost.
By wearing those glasses? Yeah.
Yeah, it made a big difference. I didn't have I could see didn't have to strain as much like I am doing right now. So I'll put
Yeah.
my glasses back on.
Well, keep those. That's an artifact at this point. You found them in the middle of a crop circle. So yeah, you keep those handy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, I'm glad you said that. I know I have that pair around somewhere, but it brings back those memories
Yeah.
and that. But I have not been to Sedona, and so when I see the pictures and that, I thought, wow, that's what an incredible place. And then
Yeah.
you, one quick question I wanted to ask you about the Phoenix Lights. You hope also that exhibit, right, or
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
yearly.
This beautiful
Mhm.
venue where we have our Phoenix MUFON meetings. After we'd been there for a few years, they said, "Hey, would you like to put an exhibit upstairs in our giant museum on the Phoenix Lights?" And I'm like, yeah, of course I would. So Phoenix MUFON funded the whole exhibit, and then the museum's preparator was the one who put it up for us. So it turned out really good. It's really nice, and the museum tells us still to this day that they get more positive feedback on that one exhibit than anything else in the museum. So it's really fun also that it's the very last exhibit on the tour through the museum that people take. So it really sticks in their mind. And it's really nice. It's well done. It's got a big, timeline on the wall of, following it down through the whole state of Arizona where it went. We've got a 6 or 7 minute video that plays on the wall on the monitor with the 911 calls on there as well.
Wow.
And we made a V-shaped, boomerang shaped craft that's suspended from the ceiling right above the exhibit that has the lights inlaid under there. So we have, a little visual in there too. So it's really fun. It's a great exhibit. And so that's been going for a few years now. And we just happen to have, a bunch of really talented people that were good on, CAD, and the graphic designers and the printers, and everyone was all within our group and did all the work. So it turned out great. We're really proud
Oh,
of that.
sounds awesome
Yeah,
to
it's
have
fun.
that. When is the anniversary coming up?
It's March 13th, and I think this is the 28th anniversary. And so I was just speaking with Lynn Kitai a couple days ago. So her venue where she usually has the big anniversary showing of the Phoenix Lights film, she's not having it there anymore at the movie theater. She's actually having it at our venue. So
Oh,
we've got a big stage and a giant screen. And so she's having her big anniversary showing there on, I think it's March 16th. Um, anyway, you could look it up. But yeah,
yeah.
tickets are on sale right now, and they're going full bore on trying to get that place all filled up. And she does put on a really good show of that anniversary showing of the thing. And it's well attended. And she's got people that come up at the end and, a couple guest speakers at the end to answer questions. So it's really nice. It's a great event.
Oh, are you going to tape it or film it?
You know what? I'm actually not going to be there. I'm going to be out of town. Going to be kayaking the Colorado River at that time. So
Oh, that's nice.
do that instead. Yeah. So, but yeah, I've been to her events numerous times, and she always has us up there as one of the guest speakers at the end. And she's just very gracious. We work together on a lot of different things. So we'll have a MUFON table out in the lobby there where people can pick up some information and find out what MUFON is and see when we have our meetings. So we'll get a lot of, attention on that as well. So yeah, it's
Great.
a lot of fun. The Phoenix Lights event, when it happened back in 1997, was a really big deal here. People are still talking about it. We get probably 3 or 4 sighting reports into the database of MUFON every year where people are sending in their information. They say that
Oh,
at the
wow.
time, they just didn't feel like they should say anything at the time. Something was holding them back. They just didn't feel comfortable reporting it in, but now they're ready to talk about it. So we're still getting pieces of that puzzle in from people, and we just add it to the database, and hopefully we can maybe figure out a little more of that mystery.
Yeah.
And we still have people ask us about that all the time. And I think it's known still as the largest mass sighting to date. So it
Wow.
was a big deal, and it was seen
Oh,
by
yeah.
They say tens of thousands of witnesses that saw this. And of course, cell phones weren't a thing back then, so we don't have that great footage.
Mm-hmm.
We have very little footage of the actual lights. And even the ones that you see where it's advertised, where you hear the guy in the background saying, "Major sighting here, folks." That's really the flares that were dropped afterwards. So there isn't really any good footage of that event, but we have, lots of witness testimony, 1,000 911 calls that came in. We've got, just all kinds of different little pieces of that. And so we get asked all the time, well, what do you think that was? What do you think that was? And a couple of the experts in the field that I ask, they say, well, that wasn't ours, but you have to look at the direction that it came from. It traversed the whole state from the northwest corner up by Las Vegas all the way through the state and over into the border in Mexico.
Yeah, there was a lady that I talked to. Her brother saw it, saw the lights, but on the Mexican side of the border.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's really interesting. People don't know that it traveled, that far. And I don't know what happened to it after it went across the border. I haven't got a lot of information on that. But, people are saying, well, it came from that area up there. That's, where Area 51 is. So it had to be something that was housed up there. So if that were the case, and say it was theirs and it was being housed up there, then what? Did it just get loose and fly across the state, and was dazzled by all the pretty lights on the highway and just happened to follow our highway all the way across the state in that direction? Or if it was ours and it's a super secret facility up there, and again, we're housing it up there, then what? They took it for a joyride. Why? Why did they want to maybe gauge public reaction? Was it a test to gauge public reaction, or what was it doing? But, you have to look at a couple of the characteristics of the one giant boomerang shaped craft that people saw. It was very, very slow and very low and zero sound. So the zero sound is kind of what gets me on that, because anything that big that we make, anything with propulsion has the sound of propulsion. I mean, it's going to be loud. You're going to hear that. But no one heard anything at all. It was completely silent. So what could go that low and that slow and have zero sound?
Yeah.
So
I understand.
It's really a mystery. Yeah.
Was it also translucent, some where people could see behind it?
Some reports said that they could kind of see through it. They could see the stars in the background through it. Other people say they saw more of a textured Aztecing type of design on the wings. Everyone did report, the lights that seemed like they were embedded in the wing. And then everyone says, the size of this thing was just miles wide, actually. Just miles wide. It was just massive. So I don't know how, or if we had the technology back in 97 for that. I think today, we could probably pull that off. But back in 97, I'm not sure we could have something that large, that silent. It just seems almost impossible. So, and then you have your people out there that say, well, it was a hologram. It must have been a hologram.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That theory.
Maybe. I mean, today I think we could probably produce a hologram like that. But in 97, I'm not
Probably
sure
not.
we had that, So,
It's been on. James Fox did several documentaries on it, right? Out of the Blue,
he
and
had,
I Know What I Saw.
I Know What I Saw.
I like that.
He interviewed the governor, Fife Symington, on that. And of course, at the time, Fife Symington came out and just completely messed that whole press conference up with that person he had dressed as an alien. He said, folks, we found the culprit, and his, one of his guys came out dressed as an alien, took off his head and everything, and ha ha ha, but the people of the state were completely insulted by that, actually repulsed by that, because they knew what they saw, And then for him to ridicule it like he did was really just a travesty, and he lost a lot of respect over that. So then, a few years later, when he came out and said, I saw that craft. I saw that. It was otherworldly.
Hmm.
And I just sit there and watch that, and I'm like, no, I'm not buying that. Sorry, Fife. I just do not believe that. I think that he had to, he's a politician for one thing, okay? But I think that he did that to maybe save face with his constituents that he had completely disrespected years before. He needed to do something. And so why not come up with a story and say, hey, I'm one of you. I saw that too. But that's just my opinion. I'm just not buying that.
Yeah. No, it's an amazing event that happened, and it's always great to keep that in the focus of the history of ufology, especially in Arizona. But any other significant cases that you could share with us?
We have a lot. I mean, I think we're averaging about 300 cases a year here in Arizona alone. So our field investigator team is pretty busy all the time. I think we've got maybe 25 field investigators just here in Arizona. They're busy all the time. I mean, just this week, I think I assigned 4 or 5 Cat 3 cases just in the last week. So yeah, it's busy. So they're always doing something. I personally don't do the field investigations anymore because I'm just the administrator over them for our state now.
Yeah.
I read every single email that comes through and I look at it, but I'm just not working the cases right now. But a lot of times I'll go out with a team if we have a team where we need to go and interview in person and we need to film it. If it's one of these, high caliber cases that come along, I'll go and do that, or I'll go with someone, if it's another woman that needs a field investigator to go along with her, then of course I'm able to do that. So one case that comes to mind was our field investigator, Marianne Robb. She and I went up to the very edges of where the city meets the desert in North Phoenix. And a lot of the people that live on these pieces of property up there, they love the wildlife that comes into their property. They love seeing the coyotes and the javelina, the families of quail, there's deer, there's all kinds of things that come in. And so they'll put a water hole. They'll make a water hole out there. Usually it's just on the other side of their fence property. And so they'll make a little water hole there for the animals to come in. And then they'll put a game camera there somewhere where they can film the animals as they come in. And it's just kind of really fun to watch the animals. So this one gentleman had put a game camera there on his water hole. And he had one on both sides of the post. So one facing the animals and one facing the back of his house. And the one facing the back of his house caught something that was so weird. And this is what he reported into MUFON. It looked like this big elongated spacecraft that flew right over the roof of his house, just kind of in a wave pattern, and then right over the head, or the game camera. And it was just incredible, this visual that we had from him. And we talked to him, and he seemed legit and everything. So we then took that piece of film and had one of our photo analysts take a look at it and slow it down and really take a look at this. And it turned out that this was a spider web.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. On trees, and they're really cool. I've seen numerous ones since then. It just, brings me back to that first one every time. But it was just floating on the wind, and it was probably about 2 or 3 feet long, and it had little drops of moisture on it. And so the drops of moisture were picking up the lights from his backyard or any light around, and it just puts a little light on there. So it was like a little spacecraft with little dots of light going out.
Wow.
3-foot piece. And it just looked like the coolest aircraft, coming at you, and just this wavy pattern and right over the roof of the house, and zoom. But it was a spider web.
Amazing.
It was really fun to figure that all out, and especially the look on his face when we, showed him what this really was. And he was very grateful, that we had done the work on that, and he agreed with us. Yeah, that's what that is. He's probably got a whole collection of cool spider web stuff by now, I hope. but we've seen, a lot of these, especially people that have the Ring cameras on their front door.
Yeah.
That catches a lot of motion. It catches everything that happens. We've seen a lot of spider web activity on those Ring cameras where people think that there was orbs floating around their front door, but it's really a spider web with maybe a dot of moisture on it that has captured some of the light out there in the neighborhood. And it looks like they've got orbs cruising around their Ring camera. And sometimes I saw this one where we were watching that, and all of a sudden the big spider crawls across the screen, right on your face. So then you realize, that could be a spider web. But that's always interesting to take these, otherworldly looking things and realize that they are, actual Earth phenomena.
That make a great training tool. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fun cases that happen, though. I mean, we have, all kinds of things in our sky. We have people look up in the sky here in Arizona a lot. I'm not sure why. I mean, we have a big sky here too, but a lot of places do. But maybe it's the weather. Maybe people are just outside a little bit more and causing them to look up. But we have a lot of cases that come in, and some of them are, very simple little things. And other times they're unknowns, and those come along too. And that's what's really interesting, is that 5% or so of the cases that become unknowns. So even if there was just one unknown, you still have to ask, well, what was that?
Mm-hmm.
But then 5% of everything, that's quite a bit of what was that. Yeah.
What kind of unknown cases are you seeing in the state?
We have everything happening here. We've got orbs. We've got, every shape you could imagine of craft that people are seeing. We have a lot of abduction cases that happen with people. Some of them report them right away. Others, like one that I assigned to a field investigator today, it was back in like 1975.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just now reporting it. So those are always, really different with people. But we've found a few things that look really legit at the time. Another one that turned out to be a plastic grocery bag from the store. We have a lot of these little dust devils out here. We have a lot of wind and dust devils that happen out in the desert. And these plastic bags get caught up in the dust devils a lot. And so people will see something twirling and spinning and shining, and then not. And, they're like, it was an orb. It was a craft. I know it was. But upon closer inspection with our photo analysis team, you can see that, wow, that was just a plastic grocery bag, but that looks really cool. So there's just all kinds of things that happen. I had an unknown that I saw just from my backyard, maybe about 8 or 9 years ago. So it just depends, when you're out there and just looking around, and you might see something out there in the sky that looks like it, those stars don't really belong there. What is that? So you're just kind of looking at it. And then all of a sudden, when one takes off, from standing still, you think, wow, that was anomalous. Maybe I should report that in to MUFON. And so it's good policy for people to report stuff in, and we can try to help them see what it was or what it wasn't. There's a lot of stuff out there.
Yep. Speaking of abductions, you also had a really famous event that happened with Travis Walton in your state back in 75.
Yeah, we do. We have, and actually we're holding a big thing this next November. Will be the 50th anniversary of Travis's event. Happened in 1975. So we're having a big hula, presentation, celebration for him at our venue. He's going to be speaking at Phoenix MUFON, and then we're going to have a reception afterwards, and just kind of a big party to, commemorate his 50 years of having added all of this information for us. And he's a great guy. Travis has not changed his story one bit since the day he first spoke it. And he is just a great person. He's a salt of the earth human being. Yeah. He doesn't lie. You be around him for a little bit, and that this man is, he's got integrity. He's not lying about this story. And the story goes that he was up in the woods as a young man in a logging crew with 6 others in an old truck, that they used for logging. and they had been up there, finished their day. And as they were driving back down the mountain into town, they saw some lights through the trees over there, you know, and generally when you see something like that, you instantly think forest fire. And these guys, as part of their logging crew instructions, if there was a fire, they were to go help try put it out, because they had the chainsaws, they had the shovels, they have the manpower to at least go and take a look at it. So they jammed over there in this big old truck, and it was not a forest fire. It seemed to be this craft, you know, a round circular craft hovering above the ground, lit up. And Travis, being the young wild guy that he was, jumped out of the cab of the truck and went running over closer to take a look at it. And as he did, he didn't realize that he had stepped under this craft, and it seemed to be like powering up. There was some noise, the lights, and he just accidentally got cracked by a beam from this craft, which sent him flying about 40 feet through the air. His guys in the truck saw him bounce when he hit the ground and not move again. So of course they're thinking, oh my God, he's dead. He's dead. You know, what should we do? What should we do? And they're panicking, of course, because, you know, right in front of them is a giant spacecraft. Kind of just rocked their world completely. So they didn't know what to do. They knew he was dead. And so they took off back for town. And as they're driving down the road, freaking out, they thought, well, let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's see if he's still alive. Let's go back there. They went back, and he was not there. His body was not there anymore. The craft was gone. So, you know, they had to come up with something. They go into town, and of course they reported it. They were questioned. They were, you know, people thought maybe they had done away with Travis while they were out there. The story was crazy. It was just a crazy thing. And then Travis had all this stuff that he remembers consciously happened to him when he was aboard this craft. And there was a movie made about this, but it was a very Hollywoodized version of what he spoke about. And it kind of turned into more of a horror film than a documentary. It wasn't a documentary. It was a film. And it's a good movie if you like a little spacecraft horror film. You know, it's okay for that, but it wasn't real truthful. So Jennifer Stein later made a very good documentary about Travis's event. And that's the real deal. So if you can get a hold of that, I think it's just called The Travis Walton Story. Yeah. And it's a phenomenal film. It's really good. But
the title of that movie was what? Fire in the Sky? Fire in the Sky,
yeah. That's so, the name after the story goes that Travis was dumped off somewhere back there in town, made his way to a line of phone booths, called his brother, who came and picked him up. And his brother was one of the people that was in the cab of the truck as well. And so he had polygraph tests. They did everything to try to figure out what was going on here. And it's just really a great story to follow. And if you listen to Travis talk about it to this day, he'll admit now that he's convinced it was an ambulance call, that he accidentally got zapped by the energy coming off of this craft. But they took him aboard and they fixed him. They maybe brought him back to life, or they healed him in some way. But he'll tell you today that it was an ambulance call. He wasn't abducted against his will. It was an ambulance call, and he was saved by this craft and then dumped back off near his home. So yeah, it's an incredible story. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
And he tells it very well. So if anyone can get a hold of, you know, the book or the documentary film, it'll open up your eyes for sure.
Both Noe and I had a chance to speak at one of his functions that he had. Forgot the name of the little town.
It was up there. Well, he's from Snowflake, Arizona.
Snowflake, yes.
And I think where you spoke, we had kind of a fire in the sky. No, we call it the Sky Fire Summit.
That's right.
Isn't that where you guys were? Yeah,
yes.
We did this 2 years in a row up there in the mountains, and it was at a place called Heber, where we had it at Bison Ranch, a big, great place with the venue and cabins and everything there. And that was really fun. Cold, but fun. I think
Yeah, it
it
was
was in
snow. I
November.
remember it was snowing when we
Yeah.
had.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize we have some really big high country here in Arizona. It's all 8,000 feet, all pine trees, aspen trees, snow, a lot of snow, ski resorts. We have all that really good stuff up there. And so that we tried to, have that event in November to commemorate, his thing. And this was, when was this? This was back in about maybe 2010 or something like that, Ruben, maybe
Yeah,
around then,
approximately,
10 or
yes.
11. Yeah. That it was great fun to have it up there. And then they took people out in buses to
Yeah.
where it actually happened on the road.
Huh.
And
That's pretty neat.
yeah, it is to take people out there. And then I think there was a documentary done with Travis and Ben Hansen
And
and a
Hanson,
few
yes.
others where they were looking actually at the rings of the trees up there as they were chopped down. There was some abnormalities in the tree rings that showed what happened that year.
Hmm.
They were all messed up in some way. So there's a lot of really cool science that they did up there. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big claim to fame for Arizona, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the opportunity of picking up Travis at El Paso Airport. We were having an event in Presidio, Texas, which is like a 4-hour drive. And I thought to myself, man, how am I going to entertain the guy? We're going to be. I didn't have to say a word. He
Yeah.
does talk, and just share a lot of his
Yeah, he's a great speaker.
experiences.
He really
Yeah,
is. He can just talk forever. Yeah. He's a really good speaker. Yeah.
had some great memories.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of people ask us that, like you had mentioned, we have the field investigator boot camp that we have out here in Arizona every
Yeah.
November. And so when people come from all over the country and some people from out of the country that they come to that, they always want to ask, do you know Travis Walton? And so they're all very interested in that whole story too. But yeah, the boot camp is something that's really fun. We've been doing that for, I think we've done it for 7 years now. So it's always in November, which is perfect weather here in our area. And we allow 40 participants to sign up for this. And, they have a great weekend here. We teach them astronomy, photo analysis, healthy versus unhealthy mental states, which is very important when doing field investigations. We take them through the whole case management system and teach them how to hit each part of that.
Right.
And just a lot of forensics goes along with this. And then the next day, we have the retired Navajo Rangers, John Dover and Stan Milford, who teach our forensic fieldwork portion of this. So we go out in the desert, and I go out there early and I plant things. We have 5 different groups of 8 people each, and I plant stuff in the ground for them to find. So they've got to find some weird substances, something powdery, something messy and greasy, something really strange looking. And we put a magnetic something out there that they can find with their Geiger counters or whatever they have on them. So we kind of test them on what they've learned and how they can collect this evidence the correct way. They have to know how to photograph it, sketch it, find it, not walk on it, bag it, tag it, and get it off to a lab and work as a group to do it. So, and it's all done really quickly, but they do a great job of it, and they all have a really fun time out in the desert there in the nice weather. And we have a big sky watch at night that's led by Mark D'Antonio, and we feed them a desert cookout dinner out there on Saturday night. And it's really a lot of fun. People love it, and they go back home and tell all their friends. And I, of course, look in the MUFON Journal every month to see who from those attendees actually became, a field investigator for MUFON.
Mhm.
So it's really fun to see that too. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
When is your next date for your training?
This next one is going to be a little bit later in November. So it's going to be the weekend of November 22nd. And it's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we try to keep the price really reasonable because everything else is so expensive in the world. So it's only $150 for registration for this. And then we have a beautiful hotel, and everyone pays for their own rooms, and we supply 2 breakfasts and 2 dinners, and they're on their own for lunch. And we have a great time. Everyone has a really, really fun time. So there should be in the MUFON Journal the January edition, which I just got from the mailbox 2 seconds ago. It's a long story, but my membership had lapsed by about 2 weeks, so I didn't get this one version of it. And I called up Hannah at the office and said, "Can you send me one? I really, really need to have the article that's in there that I sent in with all the pictures." So I know there's a big, bunch of pictures and fun stuff in that January edition if you want to read about that boot camp.
Awesome.
But it's fun. We have people who are just slightly interested in the subject join us. And we have people that are already certified field investigators for MUFON, and we actually have state officials that come in and take the course just to, see what they have missed and maybe learn a couple of different little tips and techniques on how to do stuff. And fun is had by all.
Wow. So in November, you also mentioned you're going to have another event.
I had mentioned that we're going to have Travis Walton's
that's right.
50th anniversary. So that will be November 8th, I think, whatever that Saturday is, 7th or 8th. We'll be doing the Travis Walton thing at the Phoenix MUFON monthly meeting. And then we'll have the Field Investigator Boot Camp on the 22nd of November.
Then you have Lynn Kitati's.
Lynn Kitai's anniversary of the Phoenix Lights is March. I think it's the 16th.
Well, you have some significant events going on.
Yeah, busy year
going on. Yeah. And then just, to keep everything really fun, we try to do all kinds of fun events in Phoenix MUFON just to, keep people interested and build that camaraderie and that fellowship between, everyone. So we have a big camp out that we do every year. It's a camp out in Skywatch. So again, it's up in the high country of Arizona, where it's beautiful up there. And we always do it in October because it's still warm, but yet all the summertime campers and families and people like that are not there. They're back at home. So we have about 4 days that we go camping up there, and we get about 30 people each time that join us up there. And it's really a lot of fun. We're all equally as dirty and smoky. No one cares what you look like. We eat a lot. We have really big fires. We have a couple telescopes that we'll set up at night. And the stars up there are just brilliant. I mean, it's a real dark sky area. So we get some great skies up there. And we hear the elk bugling all night long, which is always really fun. And it's just a really fun time. So everyone remembers that. And we get a lot of people that come back year after year after year. And I think we've been doing that for about 15 years.
Wow.
So that's
there's
really
something about the Southwest that has its own unique charm to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A lot of people tell us that somehow they feel like they were drawn here. When I hear they're from Maryland or something like that. And I'm like, well, how'd you end up, here in the Phoenix area? Or in Arizona in general. And they said, it's just something that felt I was just drawn to this area. And once I got here, this was home. I just felt it. So whatever that is, I'm not sure what that little bit of magic is, but yeah, we get a lot of really fun, interesting people here, and they're all interested in the subject. A lot of people, I think, get interested in the subject if they take a little side trip up to Sedona. Not only is Sedona really beautiful with all the red rock up there and just the landscape alone, it just looks like another world, like someplace you've never seen before. It's just really pretty, and there's something very special about it. And the Native Americans, of course, say it's been sacred ground forever. And I think that the reason why we have, so many UFOs that are spotted in the Sedona area, and there's a lot of UFO tour groups that are up there. One of them run by Melinda Leslie, who does a really good job up there. The rocks are red from iron leaching out of the soil. Iron is a very magnetic substance. There's a lot of magnetics everywhere up there. So maybe that's the craft are, attracted to that mineral resource in some way. I'm not sure, but there's definitely the magnetics up there, and that just might be what's attracting everything. So there's a lot of fun stuff up there, not only the UFO sightings and the beautiful landscape, but, Sedona's full of crystals, the people selling crystals in the stores. And I mean, you can find everything esoteric up there that you ever wanted to find in Sedona.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun, and so that's why the Sedona UFO MUFON group up there, has such a good group of people and a good turnout. It's just the perfect place for something like that.
Oh, nice.
A lot to enjoy up there. Hey, we're going to take a quick break and then come back and talk to you some more.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
The experiencer phenomenon is happening for a lot of people just like you all over the world. People are telling very similar stories about personal encounters with non-human intelligence. The Mutual UFO Network has research, resources, and support to help you make sense of what is happening. Our experiencer community is growing every day. Join MUFON, find your friends.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
And we're back. Stacey, on your long list of impressive things that you do, you talked about how you were part of a Roswell archaeological dig. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, that was so fun. Don Schmidt, hasn't been involved with the whole research out there at Roswell for years and years. And so every once in a while he puts together a team to go out there and dig some stuff up. So in 2013, he had been here speaking at Phoenix MUFON and saw the people here and how interested they were in helping and doing good teamwork together. So he said, hey, can you put together, a bunch of people and head over to Roswell and help us out for about a week? And so we had, I think, 10 of us that went over there. And Don had this all arranged beautifully. He had rental cars for us all, nice SUVs. We had the hotel rooms. All the funding that he put together. We had 4 film crews with us out there, which was really fun, from all over the world. And so every day what we did is we got up in the morning and we drove almost 100 miles out to Corona, the area of Corona, New Mexico. And it is in the middle of nowhere. I mean, this is barren land. It's rolling grass covered hills, some rocks, very few trees. The only animals we saw out there was about 3 or 4 lost sheep. I mean, we didn't see even any coyotes or, jackrabbits or anything that you would expect to see out on that kind of land. And it was in the middle of nowhere. So you really need to know where you're going once you head out there, because you get lost. Everything looks exactly the same. And so we would head out there early in the morning, and we would arrive out there, and it was 27 degrees.
Wow.
It was harsh conditions. It was really cold in the morning. It warmed up to maybe 65, and the wind never stopped blowing, not once. And I mean blowing. So your face was just chapped and red at the end of the day, like a sunburn, but it was windburn. And it was just, it was crazy out there. But we had all of us, we had been looking in the area there that what Don called the debris field. So not really where the crash was, but according to the winds and the things in history that he could dig up, what the weather was at that time, where the craft had crashed and then bounced a few times, and beyond that, where the wind would have blown it onto the plains there, that's called the debris field. So that's where we were looking for things, because they had looked where they thought the crash might be, not finding a whole awful lot. So we're hitting another area. So what we did is we cordoned everything off by 10-foot square increments for a long ways. And we had people out there with lots of metal detectors, shovels, brushes, brooms. We just we sifted a lot of dirt. We would hit it with the metal detectors, try to find a beep, dig it up, find out what it was, move on to the next one. There was a few people that were scouring the sides of the hills there to see where things may have, flowed down with erosion over the years. We had done a little bit of looking in the burrows of animals on the ground, the gophers and the ground squirrels and things like that. Because, a lot of times those animals, when they find stuff out there, they'll take it and put it in their burrow. So no one had ever really looked for that before, for things that may have been taken by the creatures out there and stuffed away. So we thought, well, let's take a look, so we had some cameras and we dug up a few things. I don't think we found anything really in the burrows, but it's a great idea. So we found a lot of pieces of nails. We found a lot of nails. And there had been rumors out there that after the Army went out there in 1947 and scoured the whole place, they had tons of men out there crawling around on the ground. We found a lot of buttons from some of these early Army uniforms that were on the ground, because these guys are crawling around on their hands and knees, probably popping a few buttons off here and there. So we were finding buttons from these Army uniforms. And then the nails, they had come in with airplanes and spread nails over everything, so that any people that were coming out there to do research with a metal detector would find so many nails and get so discouraged by this that they might not come back. So yeah, we found a lot of nails. So it was 3 or 4 days of some digging and finding things out there. We didn't find anything really anomalous. I remember it was at a time when one of those times when the government has a shutdown, unannounced shutdown. It was during that time. So it was kind of in between this weird little time there, and we weren't sure if we were going to be able to turn anything in anyway. It's just kind of a weird time. But it was really fun. I mean, we had a great time out there. We had Jaime Maussan and his film crew from Mexico. There. We had a film crew from Denmark, a film crew from Georgia here in the United States, and one other film crew. I can't remember where they were from. Oh, from the UK. So these guys were all fun. So it was kind of an international flair going on with this. And then we had probably 20 of us out there digging and doing the work. Frank Kimbler was out there with us. We had the granddaughter or grandniece of Mac Brazel was out there with us. And it was just a really fun time. I mean, we learned a lot about the whole incident, or what they think happened during the whole incident, and just did a lot of digging and learning how to do this archaeological dig by, cordoning off these 10-foot squares. And so it was a lot of fun, and it was a great experience. So we hope to go back and do it again with Don another day. We're ready whenever he says, let's go try it again in a different spot.
Oh, cool.
What do you think? Go ahead, Ruben.
No, go ahead, finish your thoughts.
I was going to say, what do you think happened at Roswell?
It's hard to tell. I don't think that we shot them out of the sky. I don't think we had that going for us. I'm leaning more toward the electrical storm that may have taken down that craft. They were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't think we shot them down. I just don't think we had anything that could really maybe do that back then.
Those thunderstorms are very powerful.
They are, and they'll zap anything around them. And there's nothing out there. I mean, there's nothing out there but just this land and wind. So yeah, they were the prime target for a big bolt of lightning that could easily have, taken them down. So I'm going to lean on that one. Yeah. But it was a great experience. We met a lot of really cool people and learned how to do some really cool work. And Don was the leader of this whole thing, and he did a great job of that too.
What year was that?
That was 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
With all the wind and the sand out there, do you feel that, each time that you go out there, that perhaps with the wind and the sand shifting, that, there is a chance that you might find something different?
Yeah, there is, especially the way that things erode, if you know what you're looking for and you can sit there and just look at the landscape and think, okay, the water's coming down this way, the wind's coming this way. Let's look down here in this sandy basin a little bit and see what we can find. You just kind of use your brain a little bit and you can probably find something if you can find your way out there. It's really in the middle of nowhere, and the roads all look the same. The landscape all looks the same. It's really kind of tricky. So I would suggest to people, don't go out there unless you go out there with someone who has been there before and really knows their way around. Yeah.
I went out there. Stacey was part of a film crew. We were doing a documentary. Jim Mars was part of that. And we went out to the crash site, and I had one of those metal detectors, and I thought, I'm keeping this just in case I run into a rattlesnake, because I was kind of concerned about that. And sure enough, when we were leaving the area, I was going to take a shortcut, and something just told me, don't go down on that trail. There was bushes on the side, and so I had said, okay, I'll reverse and go back. But I just the area was very rugged. I'm not sure we were actually at the actual spot of the crash site, but it kind of looked like it based on other photographs and of the terrain. And I was just caught at how beautiful that area looked.
Yeah.
But also we needed to be careful. Yes.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's stuff out there. You just can't see it. I mean, and rattlesnakes, you never want to mess with them. So
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that must have been awesome to have all those international teams there. And
yeah, it was. It was really very interesting, to see all that happening. And there's just so many people that are interested in that subject, and Roswell's a fun place to go on 4th of July. If you guys have been, I'm sure that you've been there, Ruben. I may have been there before.
Really
yeah. Wow. But it's fun. They have every 4th of July, Roswell opens up the town and has this big shindig. And half of the town is kind of the religious rite going on there. And the other half of the town is doing the UFO festival. So they have a little bit of a warring thing going on there.
Yes, the International Museum, unfortunately, had some issues with the city. And
yeah,
it was like walking on.
It's fun. They have good speakers, and all the fun side of the UFO phenomena comes out in Roswell. Even the McDonald's there, the giant McDonald's with the play place inside. It's a big flying saucer inside there. Really well done. It's beautiful. All of the street lights lining the main drag there are all, alien heads with the light with the eyeballs on them and stuff. And they have this great parade at night, electric light parade, and a lot of entries in that. And we actually made a float. We did a MUFON float for the parade in Roswell one year, and it was really fun. We took about 20 people from Phoenix MUFON over there with us, and we all just had a blast. It was a really fun weekend. We all marched in the parade dressed up as
Wow.
aliens, and it was a great time. But they have some of the best fireworks I've ever seen in my life in Roswell.
Yes.
They really put on a fireworks show there.
They go all out. I remember
Yeah.
that too, the
And they have
fireworks.
speakers at different parts of the city, and just lots of fun for kids and families, and also those very serious-minded researchers. So it's a fun thing. If people out there have never been to Roswell, look it up. It's usually around the 4th of July weekend, and it's something you'll never forget, really.
Stacey, the Roswell Festival is basically like a pattern for a guide or whatever, because other communities like the Edinburgh Conference, and there were in Del Rio, all these little border towns which we used to work with back then, where there was a significant UFO case that happened in their immediate area, and then it's basically educating the people there, and then
Right.
and it's involving the community leaders, the city or chamber of commerce, and all
Right.
those
And I
groups.
think that's great that the city actually comes out and hosts this. And, like Edinburgh, Texas, they did a great thing there. Everyone in the city there was there working and promoting this great big UFO festival that they have. And, that's another fun one. If anyone is looking to go to a fun one, Edinburgh, Texas puts on a great thing. It's in April, I think, every year.
Yes, yes.
But it's really fun, and it's just great to see the whole city. Yeah, the Chamber of Commerce, the mayor's office, everyone is down there working and having fun, and music and food and legitimate good speakers, and it's just really cool.
Yeah. Speaking of speakers, you have had a very impressive list of speakers over the years attending or them speaking at the Phoenix. And I'm just curious, how do you go and select your speakers, and which ones are memorable to you? And
Well, I'm very persistent. So some of these speakers I've been after for a while, and then others write into us and ask if they can come speak at Phoenix MUFON, because we've developed quite a good, successful reputation for having, these high caliber speakers. So we've had some great people, and it's really fun that when they come in to speak for Phoenix MUFON, they stay at my house for the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So that gives me a chance to pick their brains and ask my questions that I have of them and whatever event they're talking about. It's just really fun to meet these people. Everyone's really cool. I've never had a speaker that was not. But yeah, we've had, Richard Dolan in numerous times, Linda Moulton Howe, David Paulides, maybe 6 or 7 times, George Knapp a couple of times, just a lot of great speakers. And then, I like to look for the speakers that have the great information. They're not well known at all, but they should be. So these people deserve a chance, to come out and talk about what they're presenting, and they've done the research on it. They're not just the armchair researchers. They're the boots on the ground researchers that go out and get the information. So these people really need to, be heard. And so I like doing that too, and helping maybe to promote some of these speakers to bigger and better events. We've got Ryan Burns speaking here at Phoenix MUFON this next Saturday. And Ryan is a little known speaker, but he owns the property that's adjacent to Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, wow.
So the only thing that separates his property from theirs is a barbed wire fence. So the same exact phenomena is going on his property as it is that, what you see on the TV show or hear about. He's really interesting. He's got some stories that just, send goosebumps up and down your arms and question marks all over your head. I mean, he's got some really great information. So we're going to find out a lot of his stuff this next Saturday. Another great researcher who does some really cool stuff is James Keenan. And he's been on the show Blind Frog Ranch a lot this last season. He's their main researcher on there. And he's a neighbor of mine, lives just a couple blocks away. And so we're good friends. And, he's got some really cool information of things that he's finding out too about Blind Frog Ranch and Aztec gold and the history of all that. It's really fascinating. People think that, that was really in Central America, South America, but the trade route that they took went from Utah all the way down. It's really fascinating that you're thinking, what were they doing way up here? Well, they had time. They could do stuff like that. They like to travel too. So James Keenan is someone to really watch. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got in March, we have Whitley Strieber coming to speak.
Oh, yeah, Whitley coming. Wow.
So that'll be fun. And he's someone I've been after for about 13 years. We're finally getting him in to speak. So it's just, fun to get a real different bunch of people. MUFON likes to concentrate on anything that is not the paranormal. But I think a lot of us know that this whole subject is very paranormal. We don't promote it as such, but when you start looking at stuff and connecting the dots, you can see a little bit of everything intertwined in there. Mm-hmm. So we can have these people up on our stage as long as we say, this is not MUFON's viewpoint on this whole thing. This is just for your general information. So we have, some Bigfoot researchers that come in every once in a while. I'm very interested in that. I think that's super interesting stuff. The thing about Bigfoot is, it's all over the planet. There's been stories all over the planet forever since we've been able to write stories or draw them on cave walls. This has been around forever. And the thing is, people say, well, show me the bones. Where's your artifact on this? Show me the bones. You don't have anything. Well, we don't. And in my mind, that kind of leads us to believe that maybe Sasquatch or Bigfoot is an interdimensional creature, able to slip in and out of these other dimensions that we cannot see that are, right next to us here. We have found bones, skeletons, hair, dens of all kinds of other creatures on this planet, but we have not found that with Bigfoot. Why? We're pretty sure it exists because we've got witness testimony from forever. Mm-hmm. Well, I just think that the reason we can't find it is because they slip in and out of dimensions. They don't have to die here and show us that they were here. They can slip in and out whenever they want. So that's kind of interesting to me.
The state director, now I switch roles. I'm the assistant state director for California, but Devlin Bruni and I, we went to go investigate a case of a possible Bigfoot sighting, and was way out there in a ranch, and witnesses were perfect. They were just very credible. One was a sheriff, and the other worked at some community place in the local town. And we went out in the back where they had livestock. They had peacocks. They had a variety of chickens and animals. And they were saying that the animals were agitated. There was something back there. And then the husband looked and said he saw this real big silhouette of a creature standing behind a fence. But what he thought was really weird was he couldn't see the feet. It was like he could see through it. He said it was like ethereal. And so we took down the report, walked out there. But that was very interesting. The description was like you said, Stacey, maybe there's this dimensional portal or whatever they travel through. So we wrote up the case and just as information only. Yeah. Mm-hmm. As we finish that case, but also I'm also very, very interested in the whole Bigfoot phenomena and the possible link to UFO sightings.
Yeah.
And we had a friend of mine. He's an investigator of Bigfoot. He had these enormous casts of these of the foot, and also a handprint, which I never seen before. And he said that what he would do is would throw candy on the ground. Well, the Bigfoot would have to bend over to get the candy, but it would also have to place its hand down in order to balance itself in order to grab the candy. And so he got this enormous hand detail. I was really at awe with it.
That's fun. I don't
you
think
don't
I've
hear a
ever
lot
seen
about that.
cast. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little things. I'm only about a 3-hour drive or 3.5-hour drive to hit right into like Humboldt County and all these other northern counties where the Bigfoot has been sighted, and then a lot of historical UFO sightings as well.
And didn't that start out near Bluff Creek, California?
Yeah,
The
yeah, I
Patterson
remember
Island
Patterson
footage?
Ranch
Yeah, that's where it all started up there. So yeah,
back in '67, I believe.
I can't remember exactly the year,
Yeah,
but that sounds about right. Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, there has been a lot of things that can tie it into UFO sightings that happen in the area at the same time that the Bigfoot sightings are happening. So that's really interesting. So,
it is.
are they dropping them off? Are they flying
Yeah.
the craft? Are they, what's going on? Yeah.
But you bring up a good point because when MUFON was more of a nuts and bolts type of organization, and then gradually we started to get into abductions and occupants, and then of course the paranormal. It's a thin line, but yeah, it is something that I feel we should not ignore it. We need to look at all aspects of this particular phenomena,
Yeah.
and
I agree
so
with
be it. With Bigfoot or other cryptoid sightings. I was involved in a investigation of the chupacabra in Puerto Rico years ago, but I learned a lot from that. So we
Yeah.
talked to the mayor, we talked to witnesses, and they were terrified.
Mm-hmm.
There's people, there was something going around, and the big fear was that this thing might be attacking kids or children, and that's was a concern of the mayor that we talked to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
That is a concern. Yeah.
yeah, that it just brings me back. I think of going back to the Phoenix lights. I remember one of the ladies. She was a councilwoman, and she forget her name, but she was very concerned that this because of the calls that she got from her constituents,
Yeah.
that it was a big mystery, and that the Air Force or whoever, the government needed to investigate into this. And then I remember the ridicule that she got for
Oh,
bringing
yeah.
the question up. And one thing that always fascinated me was, this happens in other areas where you have city officials that want to bring up the matter, that they want it to be investigated, and then they get ridiculed. And I'm
Yeah.
just wondering
There's a
if
lot
that's
of that out
intentional.
there. It can really destroy a person if they're not strong enough to, stand up for it. But yeah, it's out there still. I think people like us that are in the UFO field, everyone's got someone in their family that gives them that weird look, like really, really, Stacey, and I'm like, yeah, and they just, don't believe in any of this until something happens, until something
Yeah.
in their area that they saw on the news, some UFO happened, and then they call you up on the phone and like, hey, what was that? What do you think that was? And then you can say, so you are interested in this just a little bit. Okay. Yeah, that happens all the time. I ask people a lot, how many people have seen a UFO, and see how many people raise their hands. And then you can say, okay, well, how many people know someone that has seen a UFO? All the hands go up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a few and far between thing anymore. It's pretty mainstream now. And,
Yes.
when you get, then there's the people that say, well, you don't have any proof. You have no proof. I'm like, no, but we've got, a lot of witness testimony. And when you get so much witness testimony, it becomes evidence. So we have evidence, definitely. But there's a big difference between evidence and proof. And so you just kind of have to explain that to people sometimes. We have so much witness testimony that has now become evidence. So yes, I have evidence of that. And that kind of quiets them down for a minute, and they shake their head and think about it. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's good how you said there's a difference between evidence and proof.
Yeah.
If we had the proof, well, unfortunately, and it's probably tied up with some private corporation or behind the military, and
Yeah.
I think with all the activity that's been happening, and the focus of local media, well, mainstream media especially on this topic matter, yeah. I watch one network called News Nation, and they have Ross Coulthart from Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has his own regular show called Reality Check, and he's always bringing in some very interesting people, the the whistleblowers especially.
Yeah.
So
It's never ending. I mean, there's a never ending supply on his show of really credible whistleblowers, or what seems really credible. It's only time will tell on that, whether they're credible or not. But yeah, Ross has got some really good stuff going on there. And, you can never be bored by listening to that, because it just seems like it just keeps building and building and building. And there's something really going on. So it's exciting times to live in right now.
exactly,
This
we're
stuff-
being vindicated in a sense.
Yeah.
I feel like you have a good combination of these whistleblowers who are, of high military ranking or who were there for these incidents. You also have, on the other hand, a lot of these witnesses who are coming forward. They saw something or they were part of something in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s,
Yeah.
and now
Yeah.
they're feeling comfortable enough to talk about it. So we're getting all these different pieces of, what's happening now, but also what's been happening for the past, 50 years or so.
Yeah. And I think the most exciting thing about that is the crash retrievals that they're talking about. So we've got people, I know I spoke with Clifford Stone numerous times about this, and he has passed away since then, but he had so many stories about crash retrievals. And I really believe this man. Sometimes
Yeah.
you have, when you're doing stuff like this, you develop kind of a BS meter in you, and you can kind of tell if someone's really got a good story or maybe not. Clifford Stone, I thought, was always very legit, and he had some great stories. But it's these gentlemen that were, serving in our wars, whether it be from Korea, Vietnam, whatever. They saw some stuff, but they couldn't talk about it. And so it's sad that they have to wait till almost a deathbed confession to be able to talk about this stuff, for fear of their family being harmed or themselves being harmed. But they've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. And it is really exciting now that they have the leeway to come out and speak without, being taken out immediately. So it's fun to see what's going on with everything.
Definitely. Oh, one thing I wanted to share with you, Stacey, when I was at your meeting, and we went and had dinner, and I sat down with the group of your members, and then I met this one lady, and I talked to her and her husband, and she mentioned that she joined MUFON, but she never told her husband that she felt that she was abducted. She kept that from him for a long time. But by coming to MUFON, and she felt that she got a lot of support, and then she finally opened up to her husband and told him what was going on with her, that she's had this ongoing experiences. And then he turned around and he told me, that's why I come to these meetings, because I can give her my support. And that touched me. I thought that's a great reason.
Story. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that to me, because that just kind of fulfills you a little bit. There's so many people that are looking for like-minded individuals, because when people have an experience, whether it's an abduction or just a sighting of something, it really rocks their world. They don't know what to think. They don't know if they're crazy. They don't know if they should talk about it. They don't know if, the police are going to come after them if they do, or Men in Black, or what's going to happen. They're just looking for someone really to explain this to, maybe compare stories. And so MUFON meetings all around the world give them a chance to come and realize you're not crazy. This stuff is happening. There's a scientific technique that we use to come to conclusions on our, cases that we're looking into. And it's not just a bunch of conjecture. So once they realize that they're with people that, really care and know about this, it's like a lifeline for a lot of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, MUFON has a great service in that. And now, especially with the experiencer resource team that MUFON has available for people that have, gone through an abduction or a contact experience, that they're just, they need to find something out about it. They need to make sure they're not crazy. I think that is just such a great resource that MUFON supplies to let these people know that you're not alone. You're not crazy. And let's talk about this a little bit. And it just really relieves so many people of their fears. So it's a great thing.
There's a lot of cases where, witness starts talking to you, and that's one of the first things that they say is, this is going to sound crazy. I know I sound crazy for saying this. Some iteration of that. And, when they tell you their story and you tell them sometimes just telling them, you're not alone. I've heard something similar to this. Just that alone helps a lot of people that, oh, it's not just me. Somebody else is out there experiencing this.
Right.
Just knowing that they're not alone in the experience, I think, really helps a lot of people.
It does. They realize they're not having a psychotic break, or anything, that this does happen. We can't totally explain it, but we know about it and we can try to help a little bit. So yeah, I think it does.
You mentioned you're going to have Whitley Strieber, and I just got his latest book here.
There you go. Yeah. That's cool. Have you read it?
I just got it, so I plan to get into that, and then
I haven't read it. He's bringing a bunch of his books with him next month to sell at the meeting, so I'm looking forward to getting a copy of it there. But I've been looking at some of his other books that I have on my bookshelf, trying to, replay some of these things in my mind so that I can pick his brain while he's here at my house. But yeah, he's got a bunch of information, that's for sure. I think it's going to be really interesting. So let me know what you think about that book.
Yeah. Oh, he was the reason why I joined MUFON. I saw on a new, this is back in the 90s. When was it? 85? Oh, when he and Bud Hopkins, they wrote their books, Intruders. Bud Hopkins.
Yeah.
And no, Missing Time. Yes, that was the title. Yeah, the first book. Well, anyway, I saw the article. I read about it, that these two new books were going to be coming out about abductions. And this was before I joined MUFON, but I thought that was interesting. And it wasn't until I went to a bookstore somewhere in New Mexico, and I saw the chapters. I saw the books there on top of a table, but I had this kind of reluctance of whether I should buy the book or not. And then I went to, I didn't buy the books. And then one day I went to the supermarket and I stand in line, and there was a paperback version of Communion. That was the title of it.
Yeah.
And I picked up the book and I looked at it, and then I could hear people in the background saying, "Oh, they say that's what they look like. That they're real." And finally, I bought it, and it took me a while to finish it. But he mentioned MUFON, and I thought that's an interesting idea. Maybe I ought to go to a MUFON meeting, which I did. And I was because of him mentioning MUFON in his book. And from there on, I started attending meetings, and so I owe a lot to him. And of course, I met Bud Hopkins. Years later, he stayed at my house as a guest when we had him as a speaker, and so it was really cool. A lot of interesting times.
Yeah, the cover of his book Communion, that has stuck in everyone's mind from day one. So I thought it was really fun that he put something really similar on this Fourth Mind book that he has out now, because that just sticks in people's minds. Oh, I remember that book. That was scary. That was, really interesting. That was so weird. So, yeah.
Do you record the meetings?
We do.
In DVDs?
we have Dennis Freiermuth, he has kind of a film business on the side. And so he's got all the great cameras and all the really good equipment. So we have cameras set up in the back of the room where we do record all of our presentations, but we don't put that out there or sell them. We just make 2 copies. One goes back to the speaker, and then they can do whatever they want with it. If they want to put it out there on YouTube, or they want to use it for their website or whatever, then, you know, that's their intellectual property, and they can do whatever they want with that. And then we keep 1 copy for our Phoenix MUFON library. So we have a library that we have set up in the lobby at our venue every month with, maybe 200 to 300 books in it, and all the DVDs from all of our speakers. So people can check that out for free, bring it back the next month. It gives people a chance to see something that they have missed, you know, the month before or whatever. So we keep it really simple like that. Just 1 copy for our library and 1 copy to the speaker. And then, you know, they know that they can put that out there if they want to. So it just keeps it easier without a lot of red tape.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
You must get a lot of researchers that go into your library there.
Yeah, there's a lot of books there that, you know, these are the kind of things you can't find in just any library or any bookstore. They're really hard to find, rare books that, you know, unless you go to a metaphysical bookstore that has everything there, you might be able to find some of that stuff there. But yeah, it's good. People love our library.
How did you grow your library? Is it just different members adding things to it, or just things from your collection?
We've had a couple people donate their whole collection at home that they have. They're just not looking at it anymore, or their wife is mad at them and said, get rid of those books. Or maybe they had passed away and the surviving family member donated them to us. So we have everything, you know, and then when we have a lot of speakers in that have books, they, you know, give us an autographed copy of their book. And then I put that in the library too, so that we have, you know, some really new stuff, some old stuff, some very rare stuff. And it's a pretty good collection. So it gives people a chance to look into things that they'd never heard of before, and just kind of do their own research. And we've always been about promoting the research, because we have a lot of controversial speakers that come in. And a lot of times people ask me, why would you have them come in? And it's like, well, just because you might not believe what they're talking about doesn't mean that someone else can't find some credence in there. And I'm not scared of opening up that can of worms and stirring that up, because that's what gets people involved to go home and do their own research. If they don't get something that starts them off or fires them up in some way, they're not going to look into it anymore. But I've noticed that this gets people fired up, and they go home and they do their own research. And then that puts them further down that road to, you know, knowing what they're talking about.
Is there an example of a controversial speaker or research?
Yeah. I know we had a speaker who came in, and he had a book called The Psychic Sasquatch.
Oh, yeah.
Iwani Lapsaritis was his name. Very, very controversial subject, you know. The Bigfoot thing is a controversial subject in itself, but that's just something I can think of that, you know, and it's like, well, read the book, you know, read it. Don't tell me what you think about the subject until you've read the book and know a little bit more about it. And then let's talk, you know. So there's just some different things. I mean, the whole UFO subject is a controversial subject. Most people go through their life not knowing anything about it unless they've had an experience or know someone that's had an experience. A lot of people go through life with these blinders on right here, and they just see what's here. Like, what's on sale at Kohl's this week? What am I doing for dinner next Friday night? They just want to see this. They don't want to look on the outskirts and see what's really out there in the world, because the unknown is scary to a lot of people. So, you know, we try to mix that up for people and wake them up a little bit, fire them up, give them something else to think about and maybe look into. And, you know.
Do you ever present at schools, or we get invited to speak?
at a college that was here in town, a big college. Um, they would have us in every semester, and the class that we spoke in was actually a world religions class, which I thought was
Really?
very
Oh,
interesting at the college.
wow.
This was just one thing, and we would tell them, now this isn't a religion, okay? We're not, you know, we're not. This isn't a religion. We're not promoting it as that. This is just something that is out there. If you find some more books on this, maybe you want to look into the origins of mankind a little bit more after hearing this. Do it. Do your own research. Find out what resonates within you and what you want to believe versus what you've been taught all those years. There's no sin in opening up one's mind. So, I think we did that with a lot of those college students. But it's funny because here you go in there and you think they've never heard this stuff before, but no, all of those college students have been watching Ancient Aliens since they were like 8. They know all this stuff. They know what all these terms mean. And I thought that was really interesting. We're not speaking to a group that doesn't know anything about it. They've heard all about this and they've looked into it themselves. So that was really kind of gratifying to know that, these young adults are already, looking into this stuff, and they grew up with it. So it's not news to them.
It does get pretty challenging. All these new television shows that are coming up on a whole variety of investigating UFOs, and some are very good.
Yeah, some of them are good. Some of them are really just a lot of supposition, conjecture.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think you have to be in this field for a little while before you can compare them and kind of know which ones are the better ones.
Do you ever have any of the students from those courses that you speak at come and later join MUFON or start attending your meetings?
I've had a few of these students come in and come to our MUFON meetings and say, I saw you, like 8 years ago, speaking at my college. And I'm like, oh yeah, welcome. You're in free today. So we always let all young people in free because MUFON really needs to have a younger crowd come in. I mean, not that the older crowd has anything wrong with them, but it is mostly an older crowd. I would say 45 on up is the general age range of our 100 or 200 people that we have in there. So we like to see the younger people come in. We like to see these young minds come in because they just don't come to lectures very often.
Mm-hmm.
Their learning nowadays is all digital.
Yes.
They don't like to read books and they don't like to listen to lectures, but they will watch it on their phone for 8 hours a day. If something's on their smartphone. So anytime a whole family comes in, which I love to see this, you'll have mom and dad and 3 kids with them or whatever. And so kids always get in free just because, we should be promoting, a younger group coming in. We just don't want to go the way of the dinosaurs,
Yeah.
And I have these young people come in and be interested and become some of our future speakers, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ruben, did you say it's a similar experience for your state too, a generally older audience?
It's been that way over the years. Now that we're aging and going senior citizens and that, but that's always been my concern, as trying to attract the whole younger population. But as Stacey was saying, technology is out there, the social media.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it's amazing. And not just in English, it's all around the world. All these different. And I just wanted to mention now, when you go to MUFON.com, on the bottom left, you'll see a American flag, and if you hit that, it will take you to a list of languages.
Huh.
And so you can hit it again, and then it'll look like a flag of a different country. Like it'll show the map of Spain for Spanish, and you'll hit that, and it translates the entire website into that language. So when you have a chance, check it out. Yeah, I've been asking about that for a long time. But there was issues with our website, and what finally somebody had installed that, and I found that out by accident because I used that to translate information to send it to people that are requesting to know about MUFON. So yeah, check it out. It's a really it just opens up more of the avenues of reaching out to different around the world.
That's a great tool. Yeah.
I think that what MUFON needs to do as well is, I think this is one of the things that got me involved in MUFON, is they had the show Hangar One. They had a couple great seasons of that, and I think it was great to just have that in the mix. I think it aired around the same time as Ancient Aliens, so it aired with that same group of shows. But, you watch that, and it shows you real cases with real people, and at the end of every episode, it told you, go to MUFON and become an investigator. And I think after watching one of those, I said, well, let me go to the website and see. And I think that's how I got started.
Yeah, I just saw Hangar One advertised on my TV screen when you turn it on and have all the different streaming channels and stuff. There's Hangar One right there. And I'm like, wow, that's something I haven't seen in a while. So
maybe it's coming back.
That's kind of fun that it's back. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of historical cases where, now that we can consider them historical and they depict on of these different events. That's a great program.
Yeah.
Stacey, as we kind of get ready to wrap up here in the next 5-10 minutes or so, anything else you want to tell us about your upcoming events, or just talk about in general?
I think we've covered most of them. We just, we have meetings every month. I mean, I just got done making up the whole list for this year, and starting on next year, which seems like, a long ways away, but time flies. So it kind of takes a while to set up speakers sometimes too, but we just continue to have some really good, interesting speakers and try to, mix it up so not everything is about the same subject. There's a lot of things that, like Ruben mentioned earlier, at MUFON used to be pretty much talking about the nuts and bolts of UFOs, what they were. But now, people want to find out who's driving these things, and what do they want? Why? Where do they come from? There's a lot of questions out there. So I think as we get more speakers out there that are delving into that, Michael Masters is one that comes to mind. His subject is about, could these aliens that are visiting us now possibly be us from the future? And that's really interesting. He's got a couple of books out there, and he uses the word extraterrestrial for the subject of his book. And you got to look into it. It's deep stuff. Dr. Michael Masters he lives up in Butte, Montana, and he just has a great book that really just kind of broadens your mind for a minute. You're like, wow, what? But then you start getting into it, and that's really a good subject. And it could be maybe us from the future coming back to say, okay, where can we fix this? Where did we go wrong? Let's try to fix something here. Or perhaps, there's just so many theories on who these beings are. Are they coming to get samples of our organs, our fluids, whatever, to help their own species evolve or survive? There's just, I don't know. People ask me, well, who are they? What are they? What are they doing here? Well, we don't really know that yet. We're just trying to piece some of these puzzle pieces together to solve that mystery. But there's speakers out there that are coming up with some really innovative ideas. And so I urge people to look into that. It won't hurt you a bit. Just look into it, and see what you think.
And it is nice that there are all these different ideas coming. There's not just a rehashing of the same ideas. Occasionally, you have somebody that comes out and really has an idea or a book that makes you really think and re-examine some of the other incidents.
Yeah. And, there's just a never-ending source of weirdness to all this, which keeps it so very interesting. It's like watching a good scary movie, but learning from it at the same time. So I know one of the books that I read that really grabbed me was Hunt for the Skinwalker by George Knapp and Colm Kelleher. that book was amazing. It's still one of my favorites on my shelf in there now. And the thing about that book is I could not read it at night. It was just a little scary. It was really creepy. There was a lot of creepy stuff going on in there. And I just felt much more comfortable reading it in the daylight. I could not read it at night. But that's a fascinating book. When they first started doing the research, when the Bass group, came in there and started doing the research on Skinwalker Ranch, they were there 24/7 for, I think, 7 years, 7 or 8 years. And they saw everything there. It wasn't just one thing. They had bulletproof wolves. They had spacecraft. They had Sasquatch. They had orbs. They had poltergeist activity. There was everything all in one show. It wasn't just a show on Bigfoot or something like that. It was just a crazy thing. And they still don't know how that all combines on that one piece of property there. So this next, week when we have Ryan Burns come and speak to us here at Phoenix MUFON, I'm really going to pick his brain on that. It's like, what do you think is going on here? Is it just a show of strength? Is it a show of, superior strength? Is it something that's coming through portals? What is this? It's very interesting.
I had George Knapp and Com Keller speak at our. Com Keller. They both spoke at our symposium. And so I was putting together the proceedings. We collect the speeches or presentations of the speakers, and you put it into the proceedings. And oh wow, it was amazing. I was reading the information that was written by George Knapp, and then the information written by Com, and that's how I really learned about the Bigfoot. I'm sorry, the Skinwalker Ranch. And what they had to it's still amazing.
It is. It is. They haven't found out much out there, really. I mean, I keep watching the show thinking, okay, one of these days we're going to be able to tie something in here. And they're trying everything. I mean, I have to give them credit. Travis Taylor on that show, he's trying everything. They're shooting rockets at everything on that show, but they're just trying to poke the bear. They're trying to aggravate it enough that it does something, and they can just have something to study. They know the weirdness is there. They're just trying to see, how they can provoke it. And I have to give them credit. They're trying a little bit of everything there, with the whole drone thing and the rockets and digging. I think it's a pretty interesting show just to see what they're going to try next on there.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of interesting ideas of, like, oh, I would never have thought to, to do that for an experiment or test that. And, see the results is always fascinating.
Right. Yeah, it is.
I've always wondered too, like Bigelow had the ranch before them, but we have no idea what he found, what experiments he was doing. So, it'd just be fascinating to just see kind of the results side by side of, did they ever hit the same result? Or, why did Bigelow sell it? Did he find the answer he was looking for? Or did he just say, this is
we haven't heard anything about what he found, really. He hasn't come forth with any great information about what they think is going on there even. So it would be great to find out. And you just kind of never heard anything about it from him after he sold it. So I don't know.
I've always been hoping that, as he gets older, maybe he'll write a book, about it, or, he'll release some of that info as he does, get up there in age and realize that, hey, I have all this wealth of info, let's share it with the people. Yeah.
Because you hear bits and pieces, you hear George Knapp's part of it. You hear Colonel John Alexander's piece of it. You hear different people's experiences there, but you can't really tie it down to what's going on yet. So it's interesting.
Apparently, there's a Skinwalker Ranch in Australia. It's very similar phenomena. They just found out about it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Ross Colhert had interviewed one of the investigators, and same thing. Strange orbs, rods. I remember that. And a bunch of other weird stuff that's also going on, which is kind of interesting because. If it's common, then what is it? I mean, where all the different locations throughout the world.
Right.
is there a connection with these different sites?
There's got to be. There's got to be. We just haven't figured it out yet. But yeah.
There's always
And
more
it's only going to be
questions, you know.
something so simple, you know. Once we find it, we're going to go, that was it. It was that. Really, right in front of our face all this time. That. So, yeah,
Hope
it's
so,
probably
right?
something so simple that we're overlooking. You know.
Well, Stacey, it's been fantastic speaking with
Thank
you. It sounds like there's a lot of exciting things happening in Arizona, so congratulations, and you know, we hope you have a great year.
I will. Thank you. And it was great talking with you guys today too. And you have a wonderful year as well.
Thank you, Stacey. We'll be in contact and appreciate you being on our show. And please, you know, send our regards to all your members and have a great time.
I will. Thank you.
Until next time, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Bye-bye.